Boku wa shinbun o nonde imasu.
That's great. It sounds delicious.
Hi.
Yeah. Oishii desu ka?
Totemo oishii desu.
So. Omoshiroi.
What?
That means interesting.
Oh. Honto desu ka?
Or funny or...
Doesn't honto desu?
Honto, that's like really?
Oh.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Honto desu ka? Is that really?
I bring this up because ARMS isn't localized.
Oh, shit.
I'm tying it in.
That's great.
With the theme of the episode.
But it doesn't feel like it's not localized.
Well, yeah.
This is a squeaky fucking chair.
Do you want a non-squeaky chair?
Yeah, I'm gonna get a non-squeaky chair.
Okay, katto.
It's kind of nice in here.
It's a little.
I think
it's toasty.
Yeah.
Well, it's a hot summer's day, and we're inside of a building.
We thought our air conditioner was gonna break today because it wasn't working last night, and we were like, "Oh fuck!" And then we woke up and it worked, and we were like, "Oh, thank God!" But it's gonna break eventually.
Yeah, it never lasts the entire summer.
Yeah.
We're talking about ARMS on the G Club.
ARMS.
Don't.
That's what it says whenever you start to say ARMS. It's like this fucking girl.
Sounds like an attack.
Yeah, well, when you talk about how it's localized, there's
tons of text that's localized. I just meant specifically the audio.
Yeah, but there's like voice lines where it's like Ribbon Girl says ribbon and shit. And
well, yeah.
So it's like kind of localized because
doesn't
Min
she say
speaks
that-
Chinese, so she's like shay shay and shit.
But don't they say that in the Japanese version?
Yeah.
Yeah, so they just made one version of the VO and
But it doesn't-
recorded that everywhere.
I'm just saying it doesn't give
not
the
all
impression.
Japanese.
It's not like fucking Springman comes out and he's like Boku wa Shimbun o nonde imasu. It's like, whoa, what is he saying?
Hi. For those that don't speak Japanese, before we started, Arin was teaching me some Japanese.
Yeah.
And I really wanted to say, well, as for me, I'm drinking a newspaper. So that's what I learned today.
Boku wa shimbun o nonde imasu.
You didn't ask, but I wanted you to know.
Yeah.
This fact about me.
Yeah.
So if I ever go to Japan again, I'll be prepared.
You just run around town going Boku wa, just like it's me, as for me, as
Me.
like,
Let's
listen to
talk
me.
about me now.
You can be like Boku wa, like or Anata wa. So like, as for you,
Anata
what
wa
do you think? Like that's
Shinbun
what,
o tabete ka?
So no, you just say Anata wa. So you can be like Boku wa shinbun o nonde imasu. Anata wa.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
it's like, as for me, I'm drinking a newspaper. But what about you?
What about you?
Right. Can I just say as a sentence like Anata wa shinbun o tabete ka? Is that a thing I would say?
Sure.
Like, as for you,
Yeah. You can only say
drinking a newspaper
You can only say cough or
eating a.
you can only say cough or like the fancy. So yes,
Oh.
imas.
Is it implied as a question? You don't need the ka.
Well, yeah. So I mean, if it's informal, then you can't use the ka. So like, if you said nonde imas is formal, so you say nonde iru, and that's informal, and you can't say ka after that, really.
Interesting. Well, anyway,
I guess you could,
Let's
but
talk about ARMS. 'Cause that's what the name of the thing is.
okay.
Not Arin teaches Barry how to
well,
speak
you were,
broken,
like, really
terrible
interested.
Japanese. It is interesting to me, but that's not why we're here. Armzu.
Yeah. So I'm playing shitload
You're playing
of
a
arms.
fuck ton of Armzu. I
Yeah.
haven't bought it
Why?
because we were gonna talk about that in the podcast.
Well, that's we're doing it right now.
Okay, so the reason why I haven't bought it is, I think, manyfold, but the core of it is it's $60 and Splatoon 2 comes out in a month. That is how I can distill my feelings about this game.
So that's also a lot of what I've heard on Twitter and stuff. And I just like buying games, so my Switch is, I have like every game from the eStore.
I noticed. I was playing ARMS on your Switch yesterday. And I was
Yeah.
like, what are these games?
Yeah,
I didn't
yeah.
even know the Switch had these games now.
Yeah, they release like at least 2 games a week.
Wow.
I mean, they're usually the like Neo Geo's really, or SNK is really crazy
They're
about.
like, there's no virtual console, so I guess we'll just put out our shit on the
Yeah.
shop.
And a lot of them are not good, but there's a couple like Neo Geo games like Blazing Star and which is a fucking fantastic side-scrolling shooter, space shooter. And there's also like, what the fuck else? Shock Troopers is on there, which is fucking great. So I just get every game on the Switch because I love it. I love being able to just turn it on and play games. And so I got ARMS, and plus I was excited about it. And I don't know. There was something about it. Like when I played it, it was so new. It was so like weirdly, because I grew up with fighting games. I was a huge fighter when I was younger. King of Fighters, Street Fighter, just anything I could, Samurai Showdown, fucking Tekken. I was into all of them. And this game is a fighting game, but it's just so unlike. It's a little bit like Virtual On or like the Budokai series from Dragon Ball. But like the arm system where you like either throw a left punch or a right punch and you can curve, or you can jump and curve, or you can dash and curve, and like the charged up punches and stuff. It was so fascinating to me. I wanted to like figure it out.
And all the different arms behaving differently on top of that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And there was just something about how immediately depthy it was on the surface. I was like, fuck, I just want to figure this out. I really want to like figure out how this works, and really just, because to somebody who's never played ARMS before, it just seems like chaos.
Does it though? I think it's pretty readable.
Sure, but at least to like to pick it up and play it and then start throwing punches, I feel like there's a lot of like, it's like, why didn't that hit? Or like, why can't I hit them? Or like, what do I do to make it better? Or like, you know, like it feels very weird. Like there were a couple ranked matches early on that I played when I was like level 1 and 2 where I would just lose, and I'm like, how did I lose that? I feel like I did everything right and I just lost. Like what was I doing? And then you like, that's what's interesting to me. I'm like, I gotta figure that out. I gotta think about what happened there. And then you learn more and more about the mechanics and like curve. For me, it was all about curving. I didn't understand how like the nuances of curving punches worked. And I still sort of get it.
So you're saying that you're like losing a lot in ranked and you didn't really know why?
Yeah, and there was also what was really interesting to me about it, and it was kind of a weird draw, even though it was a flaw in the design. It not in the design, but how people were playing it was people would like do one thing. They would just keep doing the one thing that works for them. Like really early on, it was just like jump, side dash, grab, and it like always connected because people were inexperienced, they didn't know how to get out of that. And so like people would just do that one thing, and then I would realize they were doing that halfway through the match, and then, you know, I'd either win or lose that match, but in the next match I would just destroy them because they wouldn't know how to adapt. But as I got higher level, everyone else is very adaptable, and that's been a lot of fun. But like adapting on the fly is tough, man, because the games sort of, they can go so fast. So if somebody even like develops a strategy on the spot that's sort of, and you're like, oh shit, I got to figure out how to get around this. It's like, there's so many possibilities and so many weird little like timing nuances that like they could just develop something halfway through a match and just do that over and over. And then you're like, I don't know how to counter this yet. I haven't figured it out. And I'm trying right now, but like just 2 more punches and I'm dead. So that's interesting to me. And that's why rematches are so fun. 'Cause like when you lose or win a match, you can get a rematch. And if you both agree to do a rematch, then you'll fight each other again. And typically they'll do the same thing. Most people have one character they play and one set of arms they play, and they just keep rematching with that. And that's sort of fun for me because like when I lose, I'm like, okay, well, I got to figure out how to get around this then. Right.
You see it as a challenge. Like now I need to learn how to overcome their strategy.
But that's what's been interesting about it to me is just, it's just been this weird, like just figuring it out, just analyzing and being like, oh fuck, well, if she's doing that and that, then I'd have to foresee that and attack early and stuff. And I wonder, like, if I have a groove for it, if I'll just like get bored. Because it really is just like problem solving, and it's much more interesting to play human opponents too, because they do have like patterns that you can like read them. And playing the PC, they just kind of, they just do anything, and you're like, oh Jesus, okay, right, now he's doing this, now he's doing that. Like they don't have patterns,
and they're like throwing punches the perfect frame that you're vulnerable getting up. And I've only pretty much played against NPCs, or not NPCs, AI. I played against you a little bit. I played the test punch a bit when that first started, which I really like the party system when you're just playing online for fun. Oh yeah. The way it just sort of slides you around. It's like, okay, now it's a 2v2. All right, now you're doing volleyball. Like it feels very fresh. Yeah. It feels like a very smart way to do that kind of a lobby system.
I agree.
Otherwise, if it's all 1v1s like ranked, but you're like, I just want to play for fun, it's like you're just sitting there waiting. And
yeah. Well, there are times when, like, even now, which is sort of what makes me scared about this game, is like, even now there are times where I'm just sitting there for like a minute and a half, like waiting for a match, and it's like, so I'm waiting for one person to fight me, and it's taking this long. Like, that's a little upsetting. But at the same time, there's I think it has like a queue system. So I think that's sort of why some players have to wait like that, because if I'm playing a match and I'm fighting this guy, and then, you know, the match ends, I think it's already queued up the next person. So
whether or not you say rematch?
Yeah. Or even like right when you click like or find another challenger, because then there's this whole menu UI that goes through and everything. But so I've been in a situation where I'll want to quit playing and I'll accidentally hit new challenger or B or whatever, or rematch or something. And then they won't want to rematch, or I'll just go out into the menu, and there's a button to press to stop queuing for ranked, but it's like not. It's like you can't do that because it's already queued up for next battle.
Oh.
And I'm like, okay, what's? And the first couple times that happened, I was like, why can't I cancel? And then it's just like pff, new battle, and I was like, oh, okay. So apparently, it makes a decision that you're going to play a new player before it even gets to the title screen if you're queuing.
Huh.
Yeah.
So that person is then in the queue, and then if you're like, I want a rematch, and the other person's like, I want a rematch, then that person in the queue is just sent to another match.
I guess so.
And they're just kind of bumped around until they find. So instead of prioritizing someone who has just started queuing, it's trying to like give you a seamless experience once you're in the online.
I think so.
That's interesting.
And I think that's also why sometimes there's a long wait, because it's like queuing you with somebody that's already in a game.
Huh.
But it's just not telling you that.
Right, of course. Well, every matchmaking system is different, and they rarely go public about how that works. I am always curious if it's like, oh man, like wait times are so long. It's like, well, maybe it's doing a, you know, local, like trying to find people in your city, then people in your like general time zone. Like it's just like expanding that search.
Yeah.
And the question is, how long does it wait to then expand that search?
Yeah, I don't know.
It could be like, I want to find people in your city, and it might just sit there for 3 minutes before it goes to a bigger pool. So
no,
that might be part of
I've
it.
found some Japanese players pretty immediately.
Really? So it's just like, we want to find you a game.
Yeah, I think so. And plus it's rank based, and it's a pretty wide range. Like when I was in level 8, I was fighting level 6s and level 9s. So
it's not strict.
Yeah. But I would never fight like a level 2 or anything like that. And now that I'm in 9, like I'm fighting 10s and I'm still fighting 7s. So I think it's like, and plus I think they reward you more for beating a higher rank than you are. Because as you go up at level 1, EXP meant a lot, and I think losses meant very little. Right. So if you lost, it was just like boop, but if you won, it was like whoop.
Right.
But now I'm 9 right now, and if I lose, it's like a huge hit. So
if you win, it goes up a little bit.
Yeah, I mean it's like
about the same.
It's substantial, but like you would need maybe 12 to 15 wins to level up
without losing.
Yeah.
Wow. That's rough.
Yeah. I was stuck in 8 for a long time because it was just like back and forth.
I remember Splatoon being very brutal like that in its ranking.
Yeah.
Where you would just ping pong back and forth between like B plus and B minus, or B plus and B.
Yeah.
It's just like, that's where you are. You're not getting out of this zone.
But the cool part about ARMS and why I've been playing it so much is because like I can play it anywhere.
Right.
Like I think I've played it more portably than I have on a TV.
And you've been playing with the controller, not the motion controls.
Yeah, I don't play with the motion controls at all.
Yeah. When I started playing the Test Punch, I tried it, and I was actually surprised with how good it felt.
It's super responsive.
It feels like you're in control when you're like curving them and stuff.
Yeah.
Probably because it's a pretty binary thing, it seems. It's like you're curving left or right.
Yes.
And you can sort of like manipulate it a little bit along the way, but it's not like the more you tilt, the more it curves.
Yeah.
From what I've seen, which is probably why the motion controls feel good.
No. That is the case.
Yeah.
The more you tilt, the more you curve. Yeah.
Oh. Well, shit.
Because
the Joy-Con's just really sensitive. So.
Yeah. Well, because the analog sticks are, they're analog. So there's a certain, if you tilt a little bit or a lot,
it'll be like kind of straight.
Yeah.
Oh. Well, shit.
Because As far as I can tell, the arms work it's like a 2 system. So like the initial launch goes in a set direction. So it's like forward, left, or right. And then after that, you can sort of nuance it a little bit. So I think
it kind of seems like that influence you have over it tapers off the further out it goes.
Yes.
Because so you can like very early on be like, okay, you're going to the right, but the last second you can't curve it around to the left at the last. Like,
yeah.
You can't whip it around.
No.
Right.
There are weapons that will do that though. But
right, on their own,
that's
but
their capabilities.
that's not what you are doing with it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it's been really interesting, and it's just learning, like going through the phases of like, there was a phase where I was like jump dashing like all the time, and then there was a phase where I like wasn't moving at all the time. I was just trying to counter with punches, and it's pretty fascinating. And then learning, and I'm always learning new stuff about the arms every day, because more people. It seems like maybe that like there's an arms subreddit, and there might be like a micro community or something where people are talking about it, because I've been seeing a lot of really consistent strategies lately. Because I guess there was a tier listing that went out that said Sparky is like the best arm. So I've been seeing a lot of Sparkies.
It sounds like an electric type.
Yes, it's a regular punch that when it's fully charged, it will disable both of your arms.
Right.
And then you can just do whatever.
Pretty good elemental ability there.
Yes, it's extremely good. And it's not like Seeky where like it takes a long time or like it already knocks you out. Like it'll hit you and then you'll just have your arms disabled and you can do literally anything.
To the other player, you're saying.
Yeah.
Once your arms are disabled, you can still move.
Like barely.
Okay, so it's like basically you're frozen, but you can't even punch.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Sounds super fun to play against.
It's a little unfair. And there's like the freezing ability sort of does the same thing, but your arms aren't disabled. So if somebody's coming at you right after you get frozen, you can still counter with punches.
Right. And I was watching you play, and you would freeze them, and they would just stand there frozen.
Yeah, because most inexperienced players don't. The game is it's still so much in its infancy now, which is a shame that it seems like I don't know, I get the impression that a lot of people aren't playing it, and aren't like discussing advanced tactics and stuff, because like it still seems like players who are at the level that I'm at in ranking in ranked matches don't understand really basic concepts. So I have been using Chilla, the ice glove, and when they get frozen, you're not. It seems like, because you can't really move that much, so it seems like it's like, oh, I'm fucked. But it's like, no, you can still throw punches and you can still block. But a lot of people don't do that because they don't like. It's just not their immediate impulse. It's not their impulse. It's a little counterintuitive. Yeah, you would assume I'm frozen, I can't do anything. Yeah, that's how most freezing mechanics work. I think it's kind of a larger problem, which is that arms itself doesn't really do a good job of teaching you. Yeah, sure. It's sort of like the tutorial when you start up is like, here's how to punch, here's how to dodge, here's how to block. It doesn't tell you how to charge your punches. It doesn't tell you what charging your punches does. Yeah. It doesn't tell you any of that kind of shit. I didn't understand about charged punches until way later. I didn't even understand that characters were different until way later. Which all that stuff is in the game. Yeah. But you have to go into help. Yeah. In like the very bottom, it's like a really tiny icon at the bottom of the main menu. And then it's like in a sub menu inside of that. And it's like a single PowerPoint presentation that's like, here's the shit you need to know to be good at this game. And even then, how they describe their abilities, they don't go in depth. Yeah, it's just like his arms are. He deflects when out of movement, and it's like, what is okay? Right. What does that mean? I think they easily could have gone the Overwatch route, which is Overwatch. I'm sure it's been a year since you've hit F1 in Overwatch. But there's little playable movies if you go over different abilities. Not every ability has it, but it'll be like May's Ice Wall, and there's a little play button. You hit it, and a little video pops up with no sound. It's like a GIF. Maybe it has sound. But it's just like her walking up and then hitting the E key, and there's this ice wall, and it's like, now I get what that does. Yeah. And for a game as complex, I mean, ARMS isn't super complex, but some of those different characters' abilities are pretty nuanced. Yeah. Like. Ribbon Girl being able to jump a bunch of times is very clear. Springman getting charged punches when he's at low health is pretty clear. I think it's Ninjara who has the, like, if you're blocking... Or no, blocking and then dodging is just a counter that's built into the game. I forget what his ability is. Kid Cobra's is the one you're thinking of, I think. Oh. When you have charged weapons, you dash faster and longer. Yes. Yeah.
Like it's a pretty nuanced little thing.
Yeah.
A little nugget in that game, and if you aren't aware of those abilities, even if you're not playing that character, that changes how you should think about that other character, especially in high levels.
Yeah.
Like
especially what arms you pick. And,
yep.
Because like if you
trajectory of different arms, all that kind of stuff.
Like I would never use a big heavy bulky weapon against like Ribbon Girl because she's just gonna or Twin Tail.
And those kinds of nuances are lost on someone like me who's just sort of played it a little bit casually.
Yeah. I mean, it's weird because you're right. There's a lot of advanced tactics that are involved in almost really basic shit. Because I mean, they sort of explain it. So like, Master Mummy or like Min Min have the big bulky one on default, and then it says like, oh, it'll cancel out pretty much every arm, and it's like, okay, cool, I get that, and it's pretty easy to see, but like, what are the implications of that? I guess is it's hard to know unless you've experienced it or someone explains it to you.
Right, because the core rock paper scissors of the game, which is present in a lot of fighting games, of like, oh, punch beats a grab, and a grab beats block, and block beats punch, is like sort of like the super basic core of that game. And then it's all of the individual arms layered on top of that, which I don't understand. I understand the basic idea of the elemental abilities you get from charging, but I don't understand, like when I was playing against you yesterday and you were doing these different attacks against me, I wasn't thinking, what can I do to counter him? Like I wasn't thinking in the next round, maybe I should swap out to these arms and then I can use this to counter against this technique. Because that's like such a layer above what I'm able to do right now.
When you have to know arms to be able to do that.
Right. And even like assigning arms, I'm looking at this giant page where you've unlocked a bunch of shit and I'm just like, I don't know what this stuff does. And it gives you a little snarky flavor text, which is fun.
Yeah.
But when you're trying to learn the game, it's
some of that flavor text just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Like I'll literally read it knowing how the game works, and I'll just be like, I don't know what this arm does, and then I'll just have to use it and see.
But there's no like training thing, is there, where you can just like throw out punches and equip different arms and see how they feel?
If there is, I haven't like gone looking for it,
because that was also something that I kind of wanted to get into. Like, part of the reasons why I haven't bought this game, kind of taking a step back from that. So you were saying that you grew up playing fighting games. I did not. The kinds of
That's completely irrelevant, by the way. I mean not to. What I mean to say is like, it's nothing like any fighting games I've played.
Right. That's kind of what I was going to get into.
Yeah.
This idea that the kinds of fighting games I've gotten into have been largely Nintendo fighting games, because I think they're less about, I mean, and the high level, obviously everything's all about positioning and reading your enemy and stuff like this. But I've never been good at remembering combos or executing combos or learning an entire player roster in depth. So something like Smash Brothers was so accessible to me, or like even like a Power Stone kind of a game, where it's more like an arcade brawler type situation than a very technical fighter where I just end up spamming Hadoukens and hoping they walk into them. And so something like ARMS is very appealing to me because it sort of plays into this mentality of, I don't need to remember combos, I need to remember like actual technique of like placement and predicting movement, and this sort of like, very like, I don't even know, like karate type mentality of like having to think about your opponent, not thinking about, okay, I need to do this quarter circle backwards kick thing that does this crazy attack. Or like when we were playing Marvel vs. Capcom, like I don't know any of those fucking combos. I'm just spamming out shit and oh my god, flames are flying out of my hands and I don't know what's happening. Whereas ARMS is just like, I'm punching and I get that. And the arms move pretty slowly. So you have to, there's like a little bit of risk and reward with that, which is really satisfying when you then connect like a really solid charged punch or something. And I don't remember where I was going to go with that, but I did have a point at some point.
You started with talking about like Street Fighter. You didn't grow up with fighting games. You played Nintendo fighting games, and that's very appealing.
And so the idea is that most fighting games that I've played, especially things like Smash Bros, are, to me, party games. They're not games that I play by myself to improve. It's, hey, let's all grab a controller and Fox on Final Destination No Items or whatever the fuck. It's more of a casual thing for me. I'm not super into the fighting game community. I don't watch a lot of fighting game esports. It's always been a very casual thing for me. And ARMS does have that, but it doesn't really support my idea of what I find fun about fighting games beyond, if you have two switches, you can, duke it out or even one Switch. You can play local.
That's a good point.
But as a solo player, besides doing the Grand Prix, which I played a bit of yesterday on your Switch, and doing the online ranked mode, there isn't really anything solo. And even like I looked for it, it might be in there, but this idea of I just want a place where I can just punch at a dummy and just try out different arms and see how they feel. That would help me as a new player come to grips with all these different crazy mechanics and stuff. Or just having a like low poly bot that is just like throwing punches at you in a rhythmic fashion, and you can learn, okay, now I understand Twin Tail's slow-mo thing, because that made no fucking sense to me until you explained it to me. And I was like reading all the shit in the game. So, and this was something that I was talking about with some of the guys yesterday, that I think it's a little bit unfair for me to want some of these things. I think something like a training is like, I think that absolutely should be in there.
Yeah, absolutely.
But also it's this idea of like, I wish there was a more fleshed out single player. Not necessarily a full-blown story mode, but just more things to do by yourself. And we were saying like, well, I don't think any of us would expect the same thing from Tekken 7 or the new Mortal Kombat. Everyone was raving about the story mode in the new Injustice game, but that feels like a bonus. At least to me as an impartial observer, because I have no stake. I don't care about the Injustice games. It's just like, oh, cool. There's like a crazy story mode with all these cutscenes. Like, that must be fun if you like that.
Well, that's tough. I think that's something that fighting games have always struggled with. It's just they're by their very nature, they're competitive, and it's all about like putting the time into it and knowing how to combat another opponent. Like, that's the fun in it.
A lot of this is about myself. It's not about ARMS necessarily. It's just like what the things that I would want in ARMS aren't there. And if that's what you want, is this like, I'm going to go online, I'm going to climb the ladder, I'm going to get better at it, then I think it's absolutely worth your time and money, because it's to me, it's a very polished, fun game. But for me, it's like, well, do I really want to drop $60 on this? I think if it was like 30 or $40, I probably would have picked it up without thinking about it twice. And like, this will absolutely tide me over until Splatoon 2 comes out, because Splatoon 2 is going to become my life for a couple months. Like, I can already tell, like, it's in Splatoon 1 and 2, from what I've seen, both have like really fleshed out single player stuff that you can do. So it's like, I don't want to always be in this mode. I mean, it's like Overwatch, where there's times when we're like, yeah, we're going to play competitive and we're going to try to do our best and have like the best comps. And sometimes we just want to fuck around in quick play or fuck around in the arcade. Like, there's high stakes and there's low stakes. And that's what I like, is I'm not always looking for one thing from one game, especially an online multiplayer game. And ARMS, to me, pretty much only gives you that hardcore online experience.
Yeah, it's a very unique experience. Like, I don't know how you would adapt that engine into something that's not exactly what it is.
I mean, it does have the sort of party mode thing where it just throws you into a server with a bunch of people, and that's really fun. But I don't see that, if I bought the game, I don't see that really captivating my interest for an extended period of time.
Yeah,
I feel like I'd get kind of bored of it after a while. I mean, that said, they have said that they're going to be putting out a ton of free DLC in the months to come.
I mean, I'm already bored of the single player, because I don't care about the dunking shit and the volleyball shit. Like, I don't give a shit about that. I just like fighting. And
again, I think even a bare bones training mode where you're just like, this, I want to go up against Master Mummy and he's going to throw out grabs. And I'm going to try to give me all the arms. Like, I can unlock them later. Just let me find out which techniques work for me. And then I can try to get them in the arms grabber or whatever. I think that would just improve the game tenfold for me. And it seems like a big oversight.
I hate that we both don't know if that's real. We're just like complaining that it doesn't exist. And it's like, no, it totally exists.
No, that's there. And you guys are both fuckwads. It's like, well, I hope it's in there. I was genuinely looking for that, because I was like, what can I do by myself right now? Because I had a feeling that you would want to talk about ARMS. So I was like, let's do an ARMS G Club, but I haven't played a lot of it. So I spent hours yesterday playing it, and I ended up just playing the Grand Prix a bunch, because that was like what I could do by myself.
Yeah, you got to beat the Grand Prix on difficulty 4 to unlock ranked.
Yeah, and then I started with the first difficulty, level 1 of Grand Prix, and it was stupid easy. I was like half asleep. And I ramped it up to 3, and I was like, okay, this is starting to feel interesting.
Oh yeah, it's tough, man. And well, that's speaks to something you were talking about earlier too. Is you still have to be really good to play Grand Prix, especially because the computer opponents they adapt really easily. So, and there's a couple of cheese things you can do. Like, you remember when you were playing Max Brass, and I was like, just use the dragons.
Yeah, I was playing Min Min, and I went up against Max Brass at the end of level 3, and he was beating my ass, and you were like, yeah, just cheese him from afar.
Yeah.
And I won, cheesing him with dragons from half a mile away.
And you can do the same thing to the boss after that, too, if you play 4 and above.
I haven't seen him.
Yeah.
I haven't fought him.
Wait, I mean, you fought Headlock, right?
No.
The dude with the 6 arms?
No. Okay. I saw a little bit of him online, but I haven't played him because I was on level 3.
Yeah,
he looks stupid as all hell.
I mean, it's unfair.
Yeah.
But if you can cheese him with the dragons, and he just stays away, and you can just keep hitting him.
Right. It's how I've always felt about Johnny Cage in Mortal Kombat. It's like you brought a gun to a knife fight.
Yeah.
It's like you're an asshole.
Yeah. It would be...
It's just so cheese.
It would be crazy if people could play as Headlock.
Yeah.
It would be totally unfair. I don't even think there'd be a way to do that because he can throw individual punches.
Now, do those kinds of cheese tactics work in ranked online?
Yeah, well, that's what I was saying to begin with was a lot of people were doing that stuff. They'd figure out something that worked like a lot, and so they just go on ranked. Like if you start ranked and you're at like level 1 through 4 or whatever, even like 5 or 6, you'll see a lot of people that just do one thing over and over again, even if it's not working at a certain point, because it's like there's just it. Again, it's like such a new experience that like it's almost scary to adapt,
right?
Because once you get comfortable with something that you know, you're like, well, that's the only thing I know, so I'm going to do that. And then when it stops working, it's like, well, I don't know enough about how the game works to experiment and try to do something different. That's actually something that was really frustrating to me early on. Was so I sort of was like that going into ranked. I just did Min with dual rams, and they're like those
are the boomerang.
Yeah, it's like a spinny blade, and it lights you on fire when it hits you, so it's an instant knockout. It knocks you down.
Okay, like, that would be OP.
No, and it does like 120 damage when it's fully charged. It's just a great weapon. It's kind of unpredictable. But I was winning a lot, and then as I got a little higher up, I saw that a lot of people were doing that, and I came across a lot of Min-Mins that were also doing exactly that, and I was losing against them.
Doing Min-Min with the same...
Yeah, like I would literally be Min-Min with 2 rams, and then they would do the same exact thing, because that's what got them up or whatever, and they were beating me, and I didn't know what I was doing wrong. Like, I didn't know why I was losing.
Right.
And so that was a little frustrating for me to like try to... it's like you're trying to figure something out from scratch because there's still so much about the game that I don't even understand yet.
Right, because if you're getting smacked down by a player, you can't go, okay, well, I need to switch to bite and bark with these arms, and that'll fuck up his current strat.
But even like movement nuances and stuff, because different things will work for different characters and different arms. So I'll be fighting like a twin tail or whatever, and they'll just always jump, dash, slow down time, dash again, and then attack. So I'm like, okay, well, I know they're going to do that, so I'll just wait for that, and then I'll just dash to the right and punch them.
Right. I saw you do that.
Yeah.
Just completely destroyed them.
Yeah. But there are some characters that'll do that, and they'll just have like really fast arms, or they'll be fast characters, and I can't do that. Like, it's not fast enough, and they'll just like come back at me.
Yeah, it was like you were going up against this Mechanica player who had, I think they were the poppers. They're just like crazy fast.
Yeah.
And they also seem to have the timing down of they would knock you down and you would get up and they would already have a popper flying at you.
Yeah.
Like the frame you were vulnerable.
Yeah.
And it gave you very little time to react. You spent most of that game climbing, like falling down, getting back up, and getting hit in the face again.
Yeah.
And it was just like, what do you do?
Yeah.
It just felt like some super cheese. And you kept rematching and they kept rematching, and I could see it. Like, you really wanted to figure out how to beat this cheese tactic, and I don't remember if you really did.
I didn't know.
Which sucks. Like, there should be
I might be able to
counter to that.
Yeah. What the fuck is it? Was it Joe?
It was like Joe Piconos.
Joe Picono.
Yeah.
I think I talked about it on the GameGrumps episode of ARMS.
Oh, nice.
Because it was like right afterwards.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was. There's still tons of that stuff that comes on. I can't. What's the thing that really gives me trouble? Is Springman's been giving me a lot of trouble because he he has this really underrated ability where like when he comes out of a jump, like when he lands and when he comes out of a dash, he's invulnerable.
Whoa.
He has like this little blue ring around him that'll just deflect arms.
Oh.
Yeah.
I should play as Springman then.
Yeah, he's really good.
To me, he seemed like just like the Mario of this game, of just like, he's the normal character.
Yeah.
Start with him, but...
And he starts out with these red fists that are really fucking good. That will like...
But they just look like boxing gloves.
Yeah, they just light you on fire and shit. Mm-hmm. So I have some trouble with Springman and stuff because he completely goes against that sense of like, when they attack, you attack. And get out of the way of their attack. Because once he's done attacking, then he'll land and he'll be invulnerable. And it's like, oh my god.
Well, doesn't Min Min also have a thing where she can do a flip in midair that deflects arms?
Yes. But
she has to activate that. It's not an automatic thing.
Yes.
It's like her
dash. If you dash to the left, to the right, or forward, and then if you're on the ground, if you dash backwards, those are all deflects.
Right.
But it's you have to know the timing.
It's a very small window.
Like, yeah, it's super fast.
But that's clever though, because that gives you a room to improve with Min Min.
Yeah.
I remember another thing to think about with her.
I remember I was playing one Min Min player who was like, I think they thought they were being clever, but they were just like, jump and then dash and then jump and dash and jump and dash, and they were like trying to like psych me out or something, but I was just like, I know exactly when you're vulnerable right now, so I'm just gonna throw out a punch like right when you start doing that. And then they just lost. Like I think I got a perfect on them because they were just like when it seems like that's always interesting to me too, and I guess that's a trait of every fighting game is it's so different when you're experiencing it happening to you as when you're doing it.
Oh,
because I'm sure he felt so empowered, like being like, I'm always moving and always deflecting, you know, like how could he possibly hit me now? But like to me, I'm just like, well, this is the window when I'm gonna hit you,
right? So
I'll just do it.
I see right through your strategy.
Yeah.
And then they're like, what? How did he get me?
Yeah,
fucking hacks.
This is so frustrating.
Yeah. And then you're going up against the Mechanico who's like, oh, I'll just hit him at this point.
Yeah.
You're like, what the fuck?
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure that's exactly how it was. He was like, why does he keep doing this? Like,
right.
It's so easy to counter.
I'm still a little bit disappointed that the cheese strategy we developed yesterday didn't work with Helix.
Oh yeah, with the two guardians. Yeah, oh man.
So Helix is like the flubber dude.
Yeah.
He's like a green, who is the best character, by the way.
Yeah. He's
when you select him, he gets like terrified. It's just so he's like, whoa.
And in terms of like the public tier listing right now, he's like on the very bottom.
Yeah, because I mean he's just a goof.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he's the best character in terms of gameplay. I'm just saying in terms of aesthetics and
hilarity.
Like, hilarity, pure just look at him go.
Yeah.
Ability, he is a delight to watch, and we were Helix versus Helix, me and Arin, and we both wound up. Well, you did it first because I was like still trying to figure out because like if you hold like jump, he just extends. He doesn't actually jump. Like,
and you can
so
wiggle back
weird.
and forth.
You become like a little Alex Mack puddle and slither around. Like it's so bizarre, but. You went with two guardians, which are these shields, which you fire out, and then they just slowly move towards you with these big chomping faces on them.
Yeah.
And then if you punch again, they sort of do a little burst forward.
Yeah.
And it was the most terrifying thing I'd ever experienced outside of a horror game.
Yeah.
Just these like two faces closing on me, and I'm up against the wall. I'm like, fuck.
And they're like, their teeth are going.
Or you like throw out one. And it'll just keep moving for a really long time.
Forget about
and you forget about it. And it just like comes into your peripheral vision. You're like, oh fuck! Like, so Arin went online with two.
Yeah, I was like, it's got to be a valid strategy. But I fought a ribbon girl, and she was just like, immediately, it was like, nah. If I just keep my distance, I'm fine.
No, it wasn't immediate. She was terrified.
Oh yeah. The
she
first
was so
round.
confused.
She was confused.
She just kept her distance and kept like staying away. Just like what is like just like that lack of adaptability. Just I don't know how to respond to this. I've never seen this before.
That's interesting you mentioned that. It's something I actually wanted to talk about was ARMS more than any other fighting game that I've played. There was this moment where I was playing ARMS and Susy was watching. It was like late at night and I was just playing ranked. And because she was like sitting there watching me, I was like, well, I'll describe what's going on. Mm-hmm. So I was like talking about how the opponent was reacting to what I was doing. And I realized like, oh, I don't think I would ever be able to like I don't think I'd be able to do this in like King of Fighters or something, like how the emotional state of the opponent. But in ARMS I could like really feel it like immediately. I was like, oh, she's scared now, you know, like she's doing all this stuff that's really conservative because she's trying to figure out like how to get around this, or like she's coming at me with like crazy aggression because she realized that I've been like really dominant or something. I don't know. But she was like, this is really fun to watch with you describing it like this. And I was like, oh, that's so weird that like there's enough nuance in this game where you can sort of read the opponent's state.
Well, that's true for me of literally all other fighting games. You know, I can watch some Evo shit and be like, I'm sure they're doing really impressive stuff, but I can't read into, oh, he's being really dominant and like, oh, he came around and like turned that around. I just kind of see punches and health bars.
Yeah.
It's like very, very surface level for me. So I'm sure it's the very same thing with arms.
Yeah, for sure. But I'm speaking at least to the fact that like, I don't know that I ever had that ability at least when I was playing a lot of fighting games. Like I wouldn't be able to watch a match and like read the mind games and stuff. But with arms, it seems really easy to me to see what's happening. And like,
I think it's because it's a little bit slower paced and it's, you know, 3D.
Yeah. And there's a lot of movement. But that's super fun. And it's something still that carries on to this day. Like I'll read the opponent more than I'll read the actual things that they're doing. So like I can tell if they're scared or if they're nervous and then I usually try to exploit that.
Yeah, something I was thinking of while you were talking about that. I think one of the reasons it might seem like not a lot of people are playing it right now is I think it's a game that doesn't exactly screenshot very well, and the Switch doesn't have any built-in video capture capability.
Doesn't it have a share button?
It has a share. Well, it has a little screenshot button, and you can just take a screenshot. I think they might have said at some point that they're gonna, you know, patch in video capture down the line, but I think this is a game that would really benefit from. Here's a 15-second clip that I can now post on a YouTube or Twitter or whatever.
Like a highlight.
Because you can be like, look at this. Like I had like a single pip of health left, and they had their fucking charge special attack thing, which we haven't talked about at all, by the way. The like orange or the yellow triangle.
Yeah, the ult.
Whatever it's called.
I don't know what it's called.
But it's like, oh, they had this, and like I dodged it perfectly and turned around, took them out. Like that would spread. That would be shareable. People would watch that and want to see that. And we're not having that because there's no way besides having your Switch in a dock and capturing it off of the TV.
Well, there's even not a lot of streams right now, apparently.
Yeah, I mean, I think probably for the same reasons you're talking about. It's not as well. It's readable, but people don't know the depths to it yet.
Yeah,
it's just the like I'm punching him and now he's down.
Yeah,
and
it might be fun to do a stream and just explain like what happened. And then
you should absolutely do that.
Explain like the strategy next that I'm like planning out.
I think people would be into that.
Yeah.
But I think maybe the concern that if I'm reading into your concerns correctly is that by the time the meta kind of evolves and all these strategies evolve, the game will already be dead.
Yeah.
Because it just doesn't seem to have the legs that other Nintendo properties have had.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it goes back to what you were saying of like...
I didn't mean a pun there by saying it doesn't have legs. I'm sorry.
I think it goes back to what you were saying of like there is an inherent appeal to Smash Brothers that is very casual, and
besides just like the character IP being in it, like the game itself is just very
it's fun. It feels good to like make hits and stuff, but with ARMS, even at level 3 it is still like it's pretty difficult, like, and you have to know the game to be able to do anything. It's not like in Smash Bros where you're just like, oh, I got a laser, pew 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 pew. Cool, that worked. You know, it's like, oh fuck, he's on me, and I don't know how to deal with this. I've lost.
I do think it's really clever in ARMS that the items effectively, I mean, that is what they are, like power ups, I guess, are zones. You don't just like so there is health recharge and there's that ult special thing.
And then there's bombs.
And there's bombs which you can knock around too.
Yeah.
But I think that it's really smart that instead of just like, oh, here's a pickup, and when you walk into it, you get however much HP. They made it, here's a zone that you now have to fight over.
Yeah.
I think that that's really smart in a game like this that's a lot about positioning and like kind of having a good range of attack on your opponent of like, oh, now we have to both move and fight over this spot right here. It's like a mini King of the Hill thing.
But those aren't in ranked.
No. Which is probably smart because then it keeps it clean. But I did really enjoy that about doing the Grand Prix, at least, of like, like this is interesting, and it kind of plays to ARM's strengths, which is like that game performs much differently at close range than it does at distance. When you're standing next to your opponent, it's kind of a lot of flailing from my experience.
Yeah.
You kind of throw out all the strategy and what is it, Yowie? I don't even remember what it was.
Gay boy love?
Yeah, gay boy love. No, it's maybe it's is Yowie the gay boy love?
Yeah.
And it's like Yoai or some shit. It's what is his name? David Serlin? Or am I getting all my game designer authors confused? But it's like this concept in fighting games of, it's sort of that rock paper scissors idea of like reading your opponent and trying to be a step ahead of them. I should look up what that is so all the comments aren't just yowie yowie. But those things only work when you have time to think, or if you're just so skilled that it's all muscle memory. But when you're close up in arms, it's just kind of like, I don't know what to do. Get away from me. So that's why the items are interesting, because it kind of forces you to take control over a zone in like a really different sort of circumstance.
Close-up arms is still can be very interesting, because it becomes more about predicting what the opponent's going to do. Because like if you're in a close-up grab, you're probably going to get grabbed immediately. But like if you anticipate that grab, you can throw out a punch really quick.
Right. I'm going to try to look up this guy.
There have been definitely people don't know how to deal with close-up arms. I remember there was this one guy who was like really killing it at long distance. Yomi
was what I was thinking, not Yowie. I'm an idiot. Yeah, Yomi.
Okay.
That's a thing. So this guy, David Sterling, made a board game about Yomi and the idea of it.
Oh, interesting.
But yeah. Anyway, please.
Yeah, I was fighting this person online, and they were killing it close range, and long range, and I was like, well, they don't seem to have any close range moments, because I would come in and I would just like, get a hit off, and I was like, okay, and I just like ran up to them, and every time they fell down, I just like fucking came right up in their face, and they were just and I got a perfect on them, and I was like,
right,
just gotta learn to deal with that shit.
Because I also noticed that from watching you play ranked online, a lot of players will play at distance and then come in close to then use their special and just do a volley of shit.
And that's something you can predict really easily too.
Right, you see them like they're always playing the long game, and all of a sudden like, oh, they're being really aggressive right now. I'm gonna go ahead and block.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh no, all my shit got blocked.
That's ults are frustrating, because they do a huge chunk. They do like a little under a fourth of your life.
Right.
If you land it completely, depending on which arms you have. There are some arms that will do, like at minimum you'll do like 200, and at max you can do like 450 or something. So
the way that this charged special thing works, which I didn't realize, because again, I don't know if it's in the game at all, but you were telling me it's every time you throw a punch.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter if you connect or not.
Yeah.
Every time you throw a punch, you gain a little bit of charge, and once it's filled up all the way, you can activate it and you unleash this barrage of quick punches.
So it rewards aggression.
Right. So when you were playing with Helix with the two shields, which just sort of float in space, you never had your fucking special.
Yeah.
Because you were throwing 2 punches a minute. Mm-hmm. So the other player had like...
So ribbon girls who just jump around and shoot poppers all day constantly have ult.
Right. And I think it's... I don't know how I feel about that idea that you don't have to connect. You don't have to do damage to charge up your special. It's purely spamming.
Yeah.
So you can just stand as far away as you can, like outside of range, and just punch all day.
Yeah.
And build up that special and then get in their face.
But that does make you vulnerable.
It does. It makes you vulnerable to all kinds of shit, but it's like, instead of backing off and charging, you might as well back off and then throw out a couple punches if you're like near your special, I guess.
Yeah.
And that just seems weird to me. It seems counterintuitive to what the game is about.
Maybe I'm wrong, and you do have to like connect, maybe even if it's like a miss or
I mean, yeah, it could be. I mean, again, I don't think it's in the game. I think it just says when it's full, just hit this button.
Yeah. There's definitely been fights though where like people get like 3 ults and I only got 1, and I'm just like, because I'm much more conservative of a player.
Right. Maybe someone can confirm if that's how it works.
Yeah.
Because maybe it is based off of damage dealt or punches that you.
It's not damage. It's not damage at all.
Okay.
It's definitely about just like throwing punches in some capacity or the other. What the fuck was I gonna say? Oh, about ults. Yeah. So ults are cool, but I think they're a little flawed. So they counter anything that's coming at them.
Right.
When they activate. So if there's punches coming at you, even if it's like the huge ass cancel everything punch, it'll still cancel it, and then it'll go straight through it. So there are situations where the opponent could be playing like a perfect game, but and they're doing everything right, and they're dodging right, and they're punching right, but you can cancel from anything with an ult. So if you're just getting creamed and this person is dodging every one of your punches and coming in on the side and just getting you, if you just time the ult right, you can just cancel that out, which is a little frustrating because it's like, I'm playing fucking perfectly and destroying you. Oh, whoops, I got hit by an ult because of how perfect I was playing, you know?
Yeah, that kind of feels like a very Nintendo design decision.
Yeah, but
it's a shell type thing.
At the same time, I mean, it's like the bottom door in Smash TV. Like, you sort of have a sense that you can't see it, and you don't know if the door's open or closed or not. So it's this weird nebulous area. It's sort of the same principle of like, when you know they have their ult, then it's like, oh shit, well, I got to play a little more conservatively now because they have it and they might use it if I like am really awesome at getting in their face, because I'm more vulnerable by being aggressive now, because he has his ult.
Even if you have the upper hand, you're playing a perfect game, you kind of have to shift your thinking a bit when you have it.
Yeah.
Luckily, it is a bar that you see on your screen.
Yeah.
If that was hidden, then that would not be any fun.
No, that's very true. But yeah, you can see the opponent's ult. And also you can cancel from grabs when they're coming out. And
so anything that's flying at you, you can be like, nope.
Yeah, well, I mean, like yours too. Like if you throw out a grab, you can just cancel into your ult.
Really?
Immediately, yeah.
Oh, that's bizarre.
That was like a low level strategy that people were doing to like confuse people. They just throw out a grab and then like knowing it's gonna miss, and then the opponent's like, well, now I'm going in, and then they're just like cancel ult, and then
I had no idea. That's interesting.
Yeah.
I wonder if that was deliberate.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But you can see through, like at higher level play, you can easily see through. It's like,
because grabs are so
why
risky.
would you throw out a grab then? That's stupid. Obviously you're trying to do, you're sneaky.
There's also something that I noticed when I was watching you play ranked, is that there's hardly any blocking. It's not something that people tend to do.
It's not as common as it should be.
I guess so, because I forget, does it eliminate all damage, or is it just
you take 5 chip damage.
5 chip damage, no matter what the arm is?
I think it
maybe it depends, but you still take a little bit of damage, but it's just like a nope, like you didn't hit me button.
Yes.
And
it also adds like a half second to when their arm comes back.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Compared to if it like actually connected.
Yeah, or whiffed.
Yeah, and you can turn it on and off like split second.
Yes, you can cancel out of it.
So the idea that blocking leaves you vulnerable is true, but if you're really smart about it, it's kind of like the damage boost flicking in Overwatch with Pharmacy, where like all Mercy has to do when she's boosting Pharah is damage boost when the rocket impacts an enemy. You don't have to just be spamming the damage boost. You can be like heal, damage, heal.
Yes.
It's like the same kind of idea of like you can be throwing all kinds of shit, block for a split second, and then like go back and fuck them up. But no one does that.
Yeah, well, it's tough. I mean,
but people are already trying to do this like high level strategy of reading their opponents.
I think there's a slight delay to guarding. I don't think it comes out immediately.
Probably not, but it's. I mean, arms move relatively slowly.
Yeah.
So you can read that.
You can cancel right out of it.
Right.
You can dash out of it. You can jump out of it. The only... You're still at a disadvantage, though, because they know where you are and you're stationary. So, like, when you're mobile and somebody throws a punch, like, you're already mobile, so it sort of is good. Especially with characters that have like a different mobility function, like Ribbon Girl or Twintel, who can like change direction or whatever. But when you're stationary, it's like, even if they cancel out at the last second, they're going to be really close to where they were. So you just have to make a guess of like, oh, well, they're probably going to go left here, so I'm just going to punch left and it'll probably hit them.
Right.
And then grabs come out like surprisingly fast. If you do it from a long distance, obviously you can see it coming a mile away, but like if you're really close and the other person's guarding, like there's a pretty good chance you're going to get a grab in, unless they're anticipating the grab. Like a master mummy or something who like always blocks, and then they're like grab me, come on and grab me.
Right,
and
if
then,
they're being smart.
Yeah, and then the other person's like, oh, I'm gonna grab you, and they're like, psych, you know.
Now your face is blown up.
Yeah, exactly. Especially when they have the fucking like big ass, fucking. I always forget the name of it. Megaton, yeah.
Whatever. Yeah.
But it's pretty solid as far as I can tell. I'm not.
Yeah, a lot of my problems with it are relatively nitpicky. Of just like, it's weird. I mean, I applaud them for trying something so bizarre.
Yeah.
I mean, even saying trying sounds condescending. I think they succeeded.
Have they announced that there's going to be like DLC and shit and new fighters?
Yeah. Master Brass or whatever is going to come out next month.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah. And it's like, he's already in the game, and that's like the only character that's not playable besides Death Clock or whatever the fuck his name is.
Fucking yeah.
But it's like, yeah, I'm sure they're going to introduce new arenas, possibly new game types. Who knows?
And they'll delete Kid Cobra's stage.
Yeah, because you're not a fan of the little roller Beyblade things.
If ever there was a stage, if they want their game taken seriously, that stage needs to be taken out immediately.
Just taken out of ranked at least.
It breaks the game. Like, it breaks every rule of the
what
game.
It is.
Okay, so this fucking, I think it's called the Snake Pit or something like that.
Sure.
It's like a skate park, and it's Kid Cobra's stage, who I have my own issues with as a character.
You described him to me as the Hanzo of arms.
Oh yeah, he's definitely, he's like the Eddie Gordo of this game. Like, he's very just like hit buttons and win.
Yeah.
But so it's this big fucking huge stage, and there's a circular ring in the center that's all like weirdly bumpy, and there's these two fucking like Beyblades that are hovering around, and when you jump on the Beyblade, now it augments your movement, so it has constant momentum, and it's not like 100%. It has a decay, but my fly's down for some reason. Wow. It has decay, and so like if you dash to the left, it's like fast and it keeps going. So like a character like Min Min, who has to like charge up her thing to charge up her arm, normally you're at a disadvantage because like you have to sit there for a second and charge up your arm, and you're like vulnerable. But on this stage, you're just drifting. You just keep going,
right?
And you're charging up your. It's stupid.
And if the other player's not on one of those Beyblades, then they're
fucked because you're elevated, number one, and number two, so you're basically always jumping, and number two, the rim of the Beyblade is like a shield.
It deflects punches.
Yes. So if you're close to if they're like coming at you, which they fully have capabilities of doing because they're like twice as fast, they can just block off your punches with the platform. So you're just like, I can't fucking. And then if you jump to try to get up there, they'll jump, and they jump way higher.
Right.
So like you
can jump and still land on the Beyblade.
Yes,
you have
exactly.
to double jump to get off.
Yes,
of it.
yes. So it's completely fucked. Like, it's a fucked stage. And because characters are moving twice as fast, the arms were obviously designed for a specific speed level. So when you're moving twice as fast and you're like trying to get like curve shots and stuff, it's impossible. And then if they jump, then you can't connect because they're going so fast through the air, and you're just like, I'm trying. You can completely 100% anticipate every single movement that they're doing and still miss because it's just ridiculously fast and stupid in a huge amount of space.
And so there are arms in the game that fire like 3 in a horizontal array, but if you don't have any of those in your layout or your loadout rather, you have like no.
Even those weapons aren't even. They don't even counter how shitty that level is.
Well, I'm saying like at least like they have a little bit more horizontal spread to maybe help you compensate.
I actually had a loadout with Min Min, who I play with. She's my ranked character for the most part.
Min
Sometimes
Min
I use
for the win-win.
Twintel. Yeah, I love Min Min. She's completely unfair. But I had one of those weapons as a loadout because of that level. It's the only reason I had that on my loadout is because of that level.
But no other level requires that kind of forethought.
Well, because it's funny because that weapon, I forget what it's called. I don't remember the name of the weapons, but it's like the 3 missile one that looks kind of like a spaceship or a bird, and it shoots out horizontally, all at the same time.
Oh, okay. But the bird one is multi-shot?
No, it's not the bird, but it kind of looks like a bird.
Oh, okay.
Like a spaceship or something, and it's got 3 little missiles peeking out of it.
Gotcha.
That one, insults you in the description.
Well, that's
it's
nice.
like, use this if you have bad aim. It's like, oh, okay.
Or if they're moving horizontally fast.
Yeah, exactly.
Also that.
Well, that was a real big cheese strategy in like the level 6 ranked. People would do the horizontal and vertical one.
Oh,
and then they would just shoot them out at the same time, so it was just like a big plus sign coming at you.
That's some cheese right there.
Yeah, but it's easy to counter.
Yeah, and they individually do less damage, right? To kind of compensate for the spread that they have. So.
Well, if they're charged, I think there's like 2 or 3 of those, because they make like variants, like elemental variants of the same arms. So like there's like the punching glove, and then there's the punching glove with electricity, and there's the punching glove with fire, and the punching glove with
I'm not sure how
ice.
I feel. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how I feel about the idea that every character can unlock all the arms, and that you can then upgrade those arms by getting them again.
Yeah.
Which kind of gives you an unfair advantage, in my opinion.
Yeah.
That whole system feels weird to me, and kind of feels like they sort of slapped it in the game to be like, here's a thing to do single player. Here's like a reason to get points and stuff.
Yeah.
Because I feel like it would have been a lot cleaner if it was like, this character has these arms.
Yeah.
And there you go. That's how it works. And so you sort of know, okay, Twintel has like a bunch of ice shit in her loadout, so I need to think about that. It's like every player could have a different loadout with any character, which gives you a lot of customizability, and I really like that part of the game. I don't like having to unlock them all or having to upgrade them all. I feel like some version of that system could have worked, and the idea that like in a few months' time everyone will have all the arms charged up anyway. So why does it matter?
Yeah, that's true. There is a point now, because like I said, I use Min Min, and I didn't have Sparky with Min Min for like forever. Mm-hmm. And even now, I when I have it, I don't have the Sparky Plus, so I still sometimes don't use it because.
And the Plus just does more damage.
Yeah.
That's still a huge difference.
Yeah. It's not a huge amount of damage. It's like an extra 20 or something, but
that adds up over the course of a round.
It really does. Like that's why I don't.
Any kind of advantage in a ranked setting.
That's why I don't use it a lot. I use Chilla still, because there are still players that don't know how to deal with being frozen, and it does a shitload of damage, man. Mm-hmm. If players don't know how to deal with being frozen, you can just punch them over and over again with a fully charged Chilla and get like 400 damage like right off the bat.
That's pretty dumb.
Yeah, and they'll just sit there and take it, and because it doesn't knock them down. Right.
Well, enjoy it while it lasts.
Yeah, I know.
They're all listening to this podcast, and they're like, "I can move."
Yeah, you can block. You can block. And even then, if there's a lot of distance on somebody and you get frozen, or even sparkied, you can still move a little bit. So if they're trying to grab you, which typically they do, just fucking walk to the right. Like, choose a direction.
Right. Stand a better chance than standing still.
Yeah, and just commit.
Yeah. Man, I still think the biggest flaw in this game is that when it's the what would you call it? Like not the splash screen, but like the versus screen, where it's like your character on the left and their character on the right, and like we're about to face off, that you can't like do shit that they see. Like if you punch and stuff.
Oh yeah.
You like the other player doesn't
get to see that. If you wiggle it around, they can see that.
That's not fun.
But the punching.
I want to be able to be like cha 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 cha. So I want like a button to make them go like yeah.
There's like, that'd be great.
That would be so much fun.
There is a reason for that though.
Probably.
They don't. I think only on the first match you're allowed to see what they're changing to. But after that, in
terms of arms,
yeah, because you can see what they're doing over there.
Right. I'm saying before that screen, even.
Oh yeah.
When it's like all the fancy graphics, and it's just like, here you go, like they're gonna be helix, and you're like, what? Okay.
But so if you when you pick your arms, you have to use the punch button to pick them. Mm-hmm. So when you pick it, you go with that arm.
Right.
And that's a tell. That would be a tell for the opponent.
Can you back out of that and then change it again?
No.
Because you can in 1v1 local.
Yes, not in ranked.
Okay. Because we were doing that where it's like, I'm going to try these. No, never mind, I'm going to try these. But once both people will say yes, then you can't back out.
Yeah.
But ranked locks you in.
Yes. So there have been circumstances. I think there's some kind of protection where it won't show you exactly what they're going to use even after they've selected it until the match starts. So like I'll see them swapping through arms, but then like right before the match starts, they'll like swap and then it'll be like go.
Okay.
So I think the game has a protection against that.
That's clever.
Yeah. Because if you see like they switch and then they stop and it's like these arms and you're like, oh well, I'll just counter with these arms, then it's kind of unfair.
Right. But no, I'm fine with that screen sort of staying as is. I just want the screen before that because there's no in-game chat whatsoever. Not even like a Rocket League. What a save! What a save!
Yes.
There's nothing to even be like great game. Like just that.
I really wish there was.
Like Splatoon had 2 buttons. That was
Booyah,
like booyah and like group up or some shit.
No, it wasn't even helpful.
It
was booyah and like all
oops.
right. Or,
yeah, all right. It's like even that was fun to spam.
Yeah.
Like give people any kind of communication and they find ways to use
God,
it.
I really would. Like if it was the Rocket League system, fuck, it would be so much
Just
better.
like, is the D-pad used for shit?
Yeah. Oh no, in this
ARMS?
game, no, it's not.
I think it's used to like change target. That's what I saw in the. If you're playing against multiple people and like those 2v2s.
No, that's the right stick.
Well, I don't know then.
Yeah.
It said change target, I think. I'm like up on the D-pad.
Well, maybe it does, but
Well, whatever.
I use
Then
the
you
right
have
stick.
left, right, and down that still
Yeah.
don't do anything. So you could have just been like double tap left to say this, press left, right to say that.
I would love just
And then not fucking voice acting, just a speech bubble.
Like I would just love it if there was a nice and a good game.
Yeah.
Because like
just
if
keep
they
it positive.
if they had, yeah, exactly. Like if because there are times where like I'm playing and it's I can just feel it when like something is cheap and I'm frustrated, I'm trying to figure out, I'm like ugh. But then if we're fighting and then they make a really good smart move that like completely counters what I was doing, I'm just like nice.
Yeah.
And I want to like say that.
Yeah.
But
And then it just like gives you a nice happy feeling.
Yeah.
And then if you do that and you're like, oh, I dodged last second and fucked him up, and they're like, nice, you'd be like, I fucking did it.
yeah, that's
It
right,
makes you feel
son,
so good.
motherfucker.
But there's no way to express yourself in this
Yeah.
game whatsoever besides like standing in one place. Like there's not
Yeah.
even like a little duck that you can do like
Yeah.
really quickly.
So
There's nothing. I guess
speaking
I'm spoiled by Overwatch, which is just full of ways of like,
Yeah.
look what I'm doing. So-
Speaking to that too, I'm a little worried that especially with what seems to be the like sort of lackluster success of I think it's selling okay.
Yeah, that's the thing is like we're really down on it, but it might be selling well.
Yeah, it's just nobody's talking about it.
Yeah.
Even on the ARM subreddit, it's like not super active. But anyway, I'm worried that Nintendo is like really behind in terms of competitive stuff. Like you said, we're spoiled by Overwatch, and we're constantly getting updates, and there's constantly discussion about like tiers and like who's usable and who isn't, and like what they're trying to do to fix that. But there was a tier list for this game like 2 days after it was released, and it hasn't changed.
Right.
And it's a little worrying when it's like there's one really famous tier listing right now that's like ARMS tier list, and it's just like S rank Sparky, and then
For like the types of arms,
yeah,
not just even the
and
characters.
everything else is just like A or below,
Right.
And
It's like use Sparky.
yeah,
Good.
so it's like I don't think Nintendo's gonna come back and be like, well, let's tweak it, and
Right. Well, and also thanks to Smash and like the Smash community, not thanks to them, but like having listened to them, Nintendo has a really bad habit of patching games and not issuing patch notes.
Oh, really?
So there was a lot of stuff over the history of Smash where every time there was a patch, they would just go in and test everything and be like, did anything change? And then the community would come up with the patch notes of like, yeah, now Jigglypuff's grab does this much damage or whatever.
Wow.
Because Nintendo was like, yep, there you go. So if they do balance patches in the future of ARMS, I hope that they're
that's frustrating.
that.
That's really frustrating.
And it seems to be almost like a team or like a development studio within Nintendo thing, because some of their games have been very open about, yeah, like now this thing does this. But Smash, as far as I know, always been like, you figure it out. We're just going to make a fun game with Bayonetta in it. And everyone's like, but what numbers? We need numbers.
Yeah.
We really care about this, Nintendo.
Yeah.
And Nintendo's saying they want to, get into esports, and they had all these tournaments at E3, and they have a esports Twitter account now, and like,
Oh shit.
like it seems like they want to be in this space, but they got to dedicate themselves
Yeah,
to it.
they
They got to
really
go
do.
the full mile.
Got to take a note from a bunch of other developers.
Yeah, and I hope they do.
God,
'cause-
patch note? No patch notes. That's so fucked up. That's like severely fucked up.
Like,
could you imagine
1,000
like
Smash players are just like, thank you, right?
Could you imagine if there was a tournament and then they patched and then you just had no idea and like you just went into the tournament and you were just like, why am I losing?
Yeah.
This doesn't make any sense.
I'm sure that happened.
This shit's not working anymore.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's so frustrating.
Yeah. Secondhand frustration. Because again, I'm not super deep into the Smash scene either.
Yeah.
It's just like I just see things and I'm like, oh, that sucks.
Good golly, Miss Molly.
I want ARMS to succeed, and I want there to be an ARMS 2, and I want an ARMS amiibo, and I want all the ARMS things.
Yes, I want an ARMS amiibo.
But this just like I go in full circle from what I said at the top. Like I think it's a little too expensive for someone like me, and there's just like not a lot on the table in terms of variety. It's very much this is a fighting game, which is fine, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just what I want.
What are Max Brass's arms?
Like in the game right now?
Yeah, what are his arms?
I don't fucking know.
I mean, like aesthetically.
Oh, they're like brass, I think. They're like brown and metallic.
Something I think that was cool was this game was sort of designed from the inside out. So I'm seeing a lot of like arms OCs every so often.
It's like this is what their arm is made of.
But well, they don't take that into account.
Oh,
but
that's what I loved about the character designs.
Yeah, every single character in this is like. Their arm is something, therefore they're designed around that. It's like Ribbon Girl's a ribbon, Springman's a spring, Ninjara's a chain,
Min has noodles,
Mummy is a mummy
paper,
skin,
right?
Bark and Bite is a electrical ribbon.
I really like that they like thought about like who this character is and like what their arm is made of, like, physical material.
It feels like they were designed around like anything that spirals. They're like, what are all the things that spirals? Ribbons. Okay, we got to design a ribbon character.
Right. Hair.
Yeah. There you go.
Twintel. It's just like it's called arms, and she doesn't use her arms.
Yeah, exactly.
But they're like, but that's like the idea they had, and it's super clever.
The fuck is calling me, man? I don't care. Let me fucking go. Las Vegas. I don't even know.
What?
Yeah, somebody from Vegas is calling me.
They're like, would you like to earn $1 million by giving us $2 million? No.
No.
No. So yeah, there's a lot of things I like about ARMS. I like that even Nintendo seems to be confused if there's any lore for this game. Like, I'm all about that. It's a really fun new thing, and I think it's in a kind of a sad way. It's just praiseworthy whenever Nintendo gives us a new IP. Because
yeah, man, you remember Project Hammer? I got a lot of vibes of that when this came out.
Before, I guess, Splatoon, there hadn't been a new IP since Pikmin?
Yeah.
That had, like, actually become a thing. It wasn't just like, here's a little one-off thing for the DS or something.
I guess it was Wii Sports, if that counts as an IP.
I guess so, yeah.
Like Woohoo and all that.
Yeah, Wii Sports Resort and the Wii Fitness Trainer.
Yeah.
That whole thing. But yeah, it's like now we're getting Splatoon shit, we're getting ARMS shit. They're like, yeah, we're bringing back like Metroid and Kirby and Yoshi. It's just like, thank you, Nintendo. I'm very happy with all the things they're doing. But can't ARMS be $40, please?
It'll get well, I don't know. Nintendo famously doesn't mark down their games.
I know that's the. But who knows? Maybe
is it cheaper to download?
No, I think it's the same.
That's bullshit.
Yeah, well, retailers like physical retailers have. I mean, maybe lobby is too strong a word. They've lobbied really hard against there being a discount for online shit. Because in the early days of online stores and stuff, it was like, oh, fuck, we can get this shit for like $10-20 cheaper. Because they're not paying for all the shipping and for it to be on display in a store. And the big box retailers are like, if you fucking do that, then you're never getting a game on our shelves again. So we don't get games for cheaper. Unless you're on Steam, then everything's on sale all the time, so it doesn't matter. Fucking games are worth nothing on Steam. Everything is a race to the bottom.
That's really stupid.
Yeah, things are weird right now. But yeah, there's no reason why a downloaded game should be $60 if it is $60 on a store shelf.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no reason for that.
I agree with that.
But yeah, no, ARMS is $60. The thing that might turn it around for me is if they put out a bunch of DLC and something manages to catch my eye, and I don't know what that is. I don't even know if that's feasible. But if they're like, yep, we put in a whole new game mode and it's exactly what you didn't know you wanted, I'd be like, shit, all right, I'm buying ARMS.
Yeah.
Like, that's possible. But the game that they put out, I looked at it, I played the test punch, I've played a bunch with your Switch, and I'm just like, this is fun, but I don't see myself playing it. I don't see myself getting really into the ranked system online. And so I'm going to play it for a week, maybe 2 weeks, and then in a month from now, Splatoon is out.
Yeah.
So then I'm just not going to play
I really
ARMS.
do wonder what Splatoon is going to do to ARMS, because it is like it scratches that itch, that competitive itch.
Right. But it's actually something that I wanted to mention when I was thinking about this podcast. I think, hindsight being what it is, I feel like Nintendo should have switched the release dates for ARMS and Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Mario Kart 10? Or Mario Kart 8. They all blend together for me.
Yeah.
Because...
Talking about Windows 8 and Windows 10.
Yeah. Xbox One X, X1.
Yeah.
Nothing matters anymore.
Yeah.
We're making a second Star Wars Battlefront 2. Fuck you. So I think that... So the Switch came out early March, and we had a bunch of stuff come out in early March. And then Mario Kart came out end of April. And then there weren't any, and there were like tons of little stuff and sometimes bigger stuff in between. But I'm talking about like first party Nintendo shit.
Yeah.
So like it came out with Zelda and 1-2 Switch and like maybe something else. And then we got Mario Kart late April. I don't think anything in May. Now we're getting ARMS in mid-June. Splatoon 2 late July. Mario plus Rabbids late August. And then Pokken Tournament DX late September. And then Mario Odyssey late October. So it's like every month except for May has had a first-party Nintendo game coming out post-launch. Which if you compare that to the Wii U's launch is like a world of difference. People are complaining that the Switch's launch was pretty dry. I had no problems with it. They gave us Zelda. That took up a month of my life. I'm fine with that. But once I was done with Zelda, I was like, I need something else. I bought Binding of Isaac on my Switch just to have a reason to keep using my Switch. I was like, give me something. And I bought Mario Kart 8. I've played it for like 20 minutes. And it's just like I had a hunger. I was like, I just want to bring my Switch to my friends' houses and play Switch games with them. This is what I want, Nintendo. And I think if ARMS had come out when Mario Kart 8 came out, a month after the Switch's launch, I think it would have been a much bigger hit. I think people would have been largely done with Zelda or ready for something to distract them from Zelda and then go back and forth between them. And then we'd have a couple months of people being really into ARMS. Then we have E3, then we have Mario Kart 8. It's like, hey, here's this fun like re-release with all this shit in it. And it's just like a fun bonus is what it feels like to me. But I think ARMS could have used that hype from the Switch launch instead of coming out at like the day after E3. When it's like, now we're all thinking about big picture shit. We're thinking about what's coming out in the fall and winter.
That's interesting.
And it's like, okay, now ARMS is out. And like no one's talking about it because we're still talking about E3. Yeah. We recorded our E3 podcast the day ARMS came out, I think. And so it's like, I think it was not a good time to launch a game. And then it's a month before Splatoon comes out. If Mario Kart 8 came out a month before Splatoon, I don't think that would matter. I think audiences would still buy both of those. Because they got legs on them. We know they got legs. ARMS ain't got no legs. I'm going to just keep using this pun. This fucking pun that I'm sure 1,000 bloggers have already used.
Well, maybe, so you know what I see happening is like, this is ARMS vanilla, and then like a couple months down the road, they're going to release like ARMS Plus or something, and then it's going to be like download only or whatever, and then they'll release a physical version later, and it's going to have like a bunch of new characters or whatever, and maybe it's just because I'm so used to Street Fighter and but
ARMS DX Double Cross X Turbo.
Yeah, and then people will be like, "Oh, this is the definitive version. Like that's why it feels so bare bones because it didn't have this and this and this and this when and so because the first Street Fighter 4 had like less characters than the largest Street Fighter 2 version.
Really?
Like Super Street Fighter 2 had more characters than Street Fighter 4 on launch.
Wow.
Yeah. So if that tells you anything.
I mean, and it's something that, Nintendo put out how many DLC characters for Smash? They put out how many new arenas and weapons and shit for Splatoon? Like, they still totally fuck up a lot of online shit. That there's no voice chat built into it, and there's no virtual console still on the Switch. Like, there's all kinds of problems. Friend codes were like, Nintendo, please join the 21st century. But I think they have shown that they can succeed in releasing post-launch content, paid and free. I think they've proven that they can do both of those. So I'm hopeful that ARMS works out. I want to play Splatoon.
Yeah.
That's where my brain's at. And to me, arms is no more than an appetizer for the main course.
Oh shit! Bringing it home.
Eat some squid. Num num.
Well, that's all I got to say about arms. I'm gonna go play arms now.
Okay, I'm gonna not. I guess.
A phone cord.
What?
That's the perfect arm.
Oh,
A telephone cord.
Yeah, like a rotary phone.
Yeah.
Cool.
So if it was like an old school, like 80s themed arms character, they could have like phone cords for arms.
Sure. And he talks in dial tones.
Yeah.
That sounds fun.
Yeah.
There you go, Nintendo. That one's free. Next one will cost you.
I'm gonna be the peppermint swirls or whatever.
Like ice cream, like frosty.
No, like the candy cane that like swirls.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
The Santa.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Plays Santa.
Could do that one.
Yeah. There's lots of clever ideas.
What are other things that are swirly
Spirals.
like that?
I don't fucking know.
It's like a double helix was pretty clever.
Yeah, that's. What about like a slide? Like a playground slide. I don't know if that would read. It would just look like plastic.
Yeah. Maybe just like water. I don't know. That doesn't really make much sense.
Yeah.
Anyway.
You should just put Mario in it and give him normal arms.
Well, people want Little Mac to be in arms. Because arms is sort of a spiritual successor to
What if they put Rayman in it and he didn't have arms?
Oh, fuck.
Thank you for listening to the G Club.
Be sure to tune in next week for when we talk about...
Insert topic about... We're going to talk about games. Next week, we're going to talk about shoes.
Shoes?
Do you like shoes?
No, I actually hate shoes.
Yeah, man, fuck shoes. All right, bye.